Hello, today I am telling you about the terrible event that happened to me. Don't forget to write in the comments where you watched it. Now let's move on to the story. I don't usually talk about what happened behind that old door, mostly because even after all these years, the memory still comes back to me in pieces, soft at first, like a whisper, and then sharp as a sudden breath on the back of my neck. I was only a child when it happened, no more than 8 or 9, but I can still feel the weight of the house around me, the quiet way the walls listened, the way the air would shift whenever that locked door at the end of the hallway decided to, well, remind us it was there. My mother always told me not to pay attention to it. Old houses make old sounds, she'd say while folding laundry or wiping the counters, as if a simple sentence could make the unease settle. My father didn't say much about it at all. He'd just close the hallway door at night, as though that thin piece of wood could keep the strange feeling from spreading through the house. We lived in a small place up on a hill, surrounded by trees that leaned closer in the wind. I remember how the shadows would stretch across the floors, long and thin, like curious fingers feeling their way around. And at the very end of the hallway stood that door, dark wood, heavy, with a lock that had rusted itself into a permanent position. My parents said it was stuck. I always thought it looked more like it chose not to open. Back then, I spent a lot of time alone, especially in the afternoons when my parents were both working. I'd do my homework at the small kitchen table, listening to the ticking clock and the hum of the refrigerator. But every now and then, a sound would drift from the hallway. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just a small, dragging rustle. As though someone behind that locked door didn't want to disturb me, but also didn't want me to forget them. One particular day stands out. It was late autumn, and I remember the cold sneaking under the windows, the smell of dry leaves drifting in whenever the wind pressed too hard against the house. I was reading a book, leaning against the sofa, when I heard it. A soft hum. Almost like someone trying to hum a tune they couldn't quite remember. I thought maybe it came from outside, but when I muted the TV, the sound was clearly from the hallway. I remember swallowing hard, telling myself I wasn't scared, just curious. Kids do that, pretend they're braver than they are so no one, not even themselves, can see how their heart is pounding. I walked down the hallway slowly. The closer I got, the colder the air felt, as if the temperature dropped just around that one door. And then the sound changed. It wasn't a hum anymore. It was a sort of pressing. Like someone was leaning against the door from the other side. Not pushing. Just letting their weight rest there. I don't know why I lifted my hand to touch the doorknob. Maybe I wanted to prove to myself that nothing was wrong. Maybe I wanted to feel in control. My small hand wrapped around the cool metal, and the moment I did, something inside the wall behind the door shifted. A slow, soft shift, like fabric brushing across the floor. I told myself it was just the house again. The wind. Anything that made sense. But then the door, it didn't open. It didn't rattle. It didn't shake. It reacted. The wood gave a long, breathy creak. Not loud. Not violent. More like a soft, tired sigh. A sound that almost felt disappointed. I froze. My hand stayed on the knob, even though every instinct I had told me to let go. I didn't. Instead, I whispered, "Hello?" I don't know why. I guess children expect the world to answer back in simple ways. Nothing replied. No voice. No whisper. No sudden movement. Just a feeling like someone on the other side had leaned even closer, listening to me the way I had been listening to them that night. At dinner, I tried to mention it to my parents. My mother smiled politely, but I could tell she didn't want the conversation to continue. My father's fork paused mid-air for a moment, but he said nothing. Whatever lived behind that door, or whatever they thought lived there, was a subject they had locked away just as tightly as the door itself. Years passed, and the house eventually changed hands, but that memory, it stayed with me. And now, as an adult, I understand something I didn't back then. The door didn't scream the way people imagine, no loud terror, no sudden chaos. Its scream was quiet, emotional, almost familiar. As though it wasn't trying to scare me. It was trying to reach me. Sometimes I wonder if it was just my imagination, a lonely child trying to make sense of sounds in an old house. But even now, when autumn rolls around and the air gets cold in that particular way, I can still hear it. That soft, stretching creak. That quiet, breath-like sigh. That gentle reminder of a moment I can never forget. It taught me something about fear, about connection, and about the strange ways the past finds us again. And maybe, in its own way, it taught me to listen a little more closely to the things we don't always understand.